Stick with that point. So this is the final weekend to the midterms to determine who takes control of Congress. Dems, we're seeing, pulling out all the stops as Republicans fight to take back control of the House. So President Biden, along with former President Obama, stumping in Pennsylvania today, both delivering the message on the threat to democracy that MAGA Republican candidates present. But is Biden's presence helping Democratic races? Washington correspondent Joe Khalil joining us live to break that down. Joe?
It's an interesting question, Natasha, on really both sides of the aisle, because you mentioned we have Presidents Obama and Biden campaigning today. We also have President Trump. All three of them are in Pennsylvania at the same time, making their last-minute pushes here. But you got to assume that Biden and Trump are the leaders of their respective parties right now, especially heading into 2024. The question is, are either of them helping or hurting their own party's candidates as they campaign for them? And it's a fair question. A couple of examples here that make us raise this question at all. Let's start in California. President Biden, earlier in the week, he was making the case that wind and solar energy are the future of energy in this country. And here is what he said about coal plants specifically.
We're going to be shutting these plants down all across America and having wind and solar.
Now, that is a comment that certainly did not sit well with voters in the crucial swing state of Pennsylvania, where he is right now. Now, the White House partially walked that statement back, but it got almost immediate backlash from some members of his own party here, including Senator Joe Manchin. He released a statement saying, quote, "Not only was it outrageous and divorced from reality, but the comments President Biden made ignore the severe economic pain the American people are feeling because of rising energy costs. Comments like these are the reason the American people are losing trust in President Biden." That is from a senator within his own party. Now, we should also mention Democratic Senator Mark Kelly and candidate for U.S. Senate John Fetterman both have publicly favored oil and gas drilling in the U.S. So President Biden's comments may hurt their chances as well. And former President Trump stumping in the battleground states of Ohio, and we mentioned Pennsylvania today. Unclear whether that is going to help or hurt his preferred candidates. I'll take you back to the debates. Notably, Dr. Oz never once mentioned the former president in the one single Pennsylvania Senate debate that was aired exclusively here on NewsNation. Rather, he made it a point to emphasize how he was going to be an independent voice and a uniting figure in the Senate. And in Ohio, where President Trump is going to be soon, J.D. Vance has had to fend off accusations from his Democratic challenger, Tim Ryan, that he is too close to former President Trump. Quickly, let's take a look at the polls here. According to our most recent NewsNation exclusive tracking poll, President Biden's approval sits at 43%. 538 Politics average of polls for President Trump, close to that number. He's at 41%. Both unpopular, both well under 50%. Now, we should also mention just this week, President Biden did deliver that speech about threats to democracy that he says MAGA Republicans pose right now, especially those who refuse to accept election results. I've spoken to a lot of my Democratic sources. None of the Democrats that are on the ballot this year disagree with that speech, but there is some questioning as to whether this was the right time for President Biden to give that speech, or whether it may appear to be divisive for swing voters. That is something that his own party is now questioning. So, Natasha, just to sum up, you got a lot of questions about whether or not these two heads of their parties are helping or hurting.
I hear you. Joe Khalil, appreciate you breaking it down live in our nation's capital. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.